Hello and welcome to the Pen Minds Book Club. It's good to have you here, Vivian. Welcome on board. And yes, this is the Pen Minds Book Club. And every week, Mondays and Wednesdays, we come here and discuss it as well as read a book. And yes, we're still on the book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And my God, I've not been able to get over that book. A whole lot of amazing things to learn. Yes, and if you're not following us on the book club already, simply click on the green icon right beside the Pen Minds Book Club and follow the house. It's just always amazing to be here. And just in case you would like to know more about the Pen Minds Book Club, we deal with everything books, book reading, book reviews, book discussions, book writing, book editing, book publishing, book promotions, and of course other things in relation to book writing. And today we will be looking at changing your paradigm, the laws of reflection. It's necessary to learn to pause because it allows growth. When you take your time to pause and reflect, you allow growth to catch up with you. One of the things shared by Peter F. Drucker is this: follow effective action with quiet reflection. From the quiet reflection will come even more effective action. So it's necessary that we all experience a moment of reflection, a moment to reflect, a moment to just think through and see how far you've come or how far you've gone as a person. I know how it is, we can all get really busy, but there are times when you should just take our time to pause, think, and reflect. There are many different ways of growing and an infinite number of lessons to be learned in life. But there are some kinds of growth that come to us only if we are willing to stop, pause, and allow the lesson to catch up with us. I experienced one of those in March 2011. I was traveling on an extended speaking trip and I landed in Kiev, Ukraine, on one of my stops. While I was there, I was scheduled to speak 3 times to a group of about 5,000 business people. I've been to Kiev several times before and enjoyed both the place and the people. About an hour before the first scheduled event, I met my Ukrainian translator. We chatted a while so we could get to know each other. A few minutes into our conversation, he said, I've read several of your books. You say that you want to add value to people, but that's not easy here. People don't trust leaders, and with a good reason. Leaders don't add value to others here. Then he added, I sure hope you can help them. His words left quite an impression on me. And what he told me prompted me to recall conversations with my good friend, Jim Donnan, the leader of Network 21, an organization that works in many of the countries that were once behind the Iron Curtain. Jim had told me that in any country where the government was crooked and the leaders were crooked and selfish, being able to circumvent authority and working the system were seen as virtues. Because I still had a little time before I had to speak, I went to the green room so I could cause a pause and reflect on what I had just learned. I was feeling emotional and I wanted to take time to let my thinking catch up with my feelings. So I started to ask myself some questions. How am I feeling? The answer was sad. Living under communist rule for generations had beaten people down, discouraged them, and made them cynical. It's hard getting ahead when you have little hope. What could I do? I could show them my heart. For some of these people, perhaps no leader had ever told them he cared about them and wanted them to succeed. How could I do that? I could let them know that I knew what their situation was and felt for them. I could tell them that I would be just like them if I had grown up in that environment, but that there is a higher road for a leader, one where leaders add value to others. I could help them understand that even if they had never been valued by their leaders, they could become leaders who added value to others. They could become change agents for the future success of their country and themselves. I then took a moment and prayed, asking God to help me deliver that message with clarity and integrity. I didn't completely abandon what I planned to speak about that day, but I sure modified it for and tailored it to my audience. And one of the first things I said, which I repeated often that day, was my name is John, and I'm your friend. I said it sincerely, and I also used it to help soften some hard but humorous truths I was delivering. At first, they weren't sure how to react to that statement. After a while, they started to anticipate it. By the end of the day, when I said it, they knew a zinger was coming and they would laugh in anticipation. And the next day, when I came in and prepared to speak, my translator said that everyone was saying the phrase to one another. That's when I realized that they understood that I was cheering them on and really wanted to help them. It's never enough for me to just show up and give a good speech when I've been invited to an event. Every time I speak, I want to do two things: add value to the people I talk to and exceed the expectations of the list of the persons who I invite. It's likely I would have failed on both counts on this trip if I hadn't taken the time to pause, let the honest insights from my interpreter soak in, and change my agenda to match what my audience needed. There is power in pausing to reflect. If you're nearly as old as I am, you may remember an old slogan once used by Coca Cola. They called Coke the pause that refreshes. That's what reflection is to someone who desires to grow. Learning to pause allows you to catch up with growth. That's the law of reflection. Here are my observations concerning the power of the pause and how reflection can help you to grow. The first one is reflection turns experience into insight. For over 2,000 years, people have been saying that experience is the best teacher. According to the expert, the earliest recorded vision of this saying came from Roman Emperor Julius Caesar, who wrote, "Experience is the teacher of all things." In De Bello Civilly, with all due respect, I have to disagree with that statement. Experience is not the best teacher. Evaluated experience is. The only reason Caesar was able to make that claim was because he had learned much by reflecting on his life and writing about it. There's an old joke that experience is a art teacher because the test is given first and the lesson is given afterward. That's true, but only if the person takes time to reflect after the experience. Otherwise, you receive the test first and the lesson may never come. People have innumerable experiences every day, and many learn nothing from them because they never take the time to pause and reflect. That's why it's so important to pause and let understanding catch up with us. I once heard that at the turn of the century, there was a buggy whip factory that had made major improvements in their manufacturing process. They made the best quality whips and they were continuing to improve them. No other manufacturer in the industry compared. There was just one problem. They were working at a time when the automobile was being introduced. And it wasn't long before the entire nation would change to the horseless carriage. The company soon went out of business. I can't help wondering what the outcome might have been if the leaders of the company had taken the time to pause, understand what their experience was trying to teach them, and make changes in the course they were on. Everyone needs a time and a place to pause. I'm yet to meet a person who doesn't benefit from pausing and reflecting. In fact, stopping to reflect is one of the most valuable activities people can do to grow. It has much greater value to them than even motivation or encouragement. Why? Because pausing allows you to make sure you're on the right track. After all, if someone is going down the wrong road, it doesn't need motivation to speed up. It needs to stop, reflect, and change course. If someone is going down the wrong road, it doesn't need motivation to speed up. It needs to stop, reflect, and change course. In the book Thinking for a Change, I encourage people to identify or create a thinking place. Did I do that because there is some magic in having a designated place to pause and think? No. I did it because if you go to the trouble to create a place to pause and think, and you schedule the time to go there, you'll probably actually use it and you'll benefit from it. Most people are pretty busy. There are a lot of demands on them, and they rush from place to place trying to get things done. Along the way, they have certain experiences that are life markers. They go to a place or are part of an event or meet a person that in some ways marks them for life because something important happened. Often, these markers identify for them a time of transition, change, or transformation. If we don't take time to pause and reflect, we can miss the significance of such events. Reflection allows those experiences to move from being life markers to life makers. If we pause to allow growth to catch up with us of what we have experienced, but we can implement changes and course corrections as a result, we are also better equipped to teach others from the wisdom we have gained. Pausing with intention expands and enriches thinking. Study the lives of the great people who have made an impact in their world, and you'll find that in virtually every case, they spent a considerable amount of time alone thinking. Every significant religious leader in history spent time in solitude. Every political leader who had an impact on history practiced the discipline of solitude to think and plan. Great artists spend countless hours in their studios or with their instruments, not just doing, but exploring their ideas and experiences. Most leading universities give their faculty time not only to teach, but to think, research, and write. Time alone allows you to sort through your experience, put it into perspective, and plan for the future. If you're a leader, you can probably take the normal busyness of life and multiply it by 10. Leaders are so action oriented and have so many responsibilities that they are often guilty of moving all the time and neglecting to stop and take time to think. Yet, this is one of the most important things leaders can do. A minute of thought is worth more than an hour of talk. A minute of thought, a minute of thinking is worth more than an hour of talk. I strongly encourage you to find a place to think and to discipline yourself to pause and use it because it has the potential to change your life. It can help you to figure out what's really important and what isn't. As writer and Catholic priest Henry J. M. Nguyen observed, when you are able to create a lonely place in the middle of your actions and concerns, your successes and failures slowly can lose some of their power over you. When you're able to create a lonely place in the middle of your actions and concerns, your successes and failures slowly can lose some of their power over you. Henry J. M. Nguyen. When you take time to pause, another thing you must do is use your eyes. When you take the time to pause and reflect, there are really four basic directions your thinking should go. The first one is investigation. There's a funny old joke about two guys who have been given the job of cleaning out a stable. They are up to their ankles in horse manure, and one says to the other, there must be a horse around here somewhere. Some things are obvious and don't require reflection to figure them out. Others require a person to play detective. The great scientist Galileo said, all truths are easy to understand once they are discovered. The point is to discover them. That takes investigation. Pausing means more than just slowing down to smell the roses. It means stopping and really figuring them out. That generally requires a person to ask questions. You need to ask yourself questions as you take time to pause and reflect, which I'll discuss in the next section of this chapter. The thing to remember is that continual growth from experiences is only possible when we discover insights and truths within them. That comes from investigation. Another I is incubation. Incubation is taking an experience of life and putting it into the slow cooker of your mind to simmer for a while. It is very similar to meditation. It's like the flip side of prayer. When I pray, I talk to God. When I meditate, I listen to Him. Incubation is simply listening and learning. I'm continually putting quotes and ideas in my mental crock pot to let them incubate. These days, I do that by putting them in the Notes app of my iPhone. I keep them there for days, weeks, or months and look at them often to reflect on them. There are some of the quotes I'm currently thinking about. If you're not on the table, you're on the menu. If you don't wait or rush yourself out of a crisis, you work yourself out. The mark of an effective leader is one who absorbs the punishment without surrendering his soul. I give ideas as long as they need until I discover an insight or experience the next I, which is illumination. Jim Rohn remarked, at the end of each day, You should play back the tapes of your performance. The results should either applaud you or prod you. What he's talking about is illumination. These are the aha moments in your life, the epiphanies when you experience sudden realization or insight. It's when the proverbial light bulb turns on. Few things in life are more rewarding than such moments. At the end of each day, you should play back the tapes of your performance. The result should either applaud you or prod you. Jim Rohn. I find that I experience moments of illumination only after I spend time investigating an idea and then allowing it to incubate for a period of time. But such moments are the reward for committing time and effort to pausing and reflecting. Most good ideas are like skeletons. They provide good structure, but they need meat on their bones. They lack substance, and until they have it, they aren't that useful. What would a speech be without good illustrations? A flat outline. What would a book be without fleshed out ideas? Good stories and insightful quotes? Boring. Illustrating is the process of putting flesh on ideas. Author and firefighter Peter M. believes all of us are watchers of television, of time clocks, of traffic on the freeway, but few are observers. Everyone is looking, but not many are seeing. That isn't true for people who find a place to reflect and who are intentional about pausing to allow learning to catch up with them. Good questions are the art of reflection. Whenever I take time to pause and reflect, I begin by asking myself a question. Whenever I'm thinking and reflecting, and I feel like I have hit a roadblock, I ask myself questions. If I'm trying to learn something new or delve deeper into an area so I can grow, I ask questions. I spend a lot of my life asking questions, but that's a good thing. As author and speaker Anthony Robbins says, successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. Successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. Anthony Robbins. Before we go on to the next session of this chapter in this book, I'd like you to take some time to reflect on some of the things that have been shared. And perhaps if you want to share an insight, you can raise your hand and come up on stage and share. But however, some things really are enough for us to reflect on, to think about. That there should be a time in your life amid the many things that you go about doing, and sometimes we get too busy to take time to pause, think, and reflect, and to learn and evaluate our experiences. Just like John C. Maxwell says, it is not experiences that teaches you the best. It is evaluated experiences, the experiences that you take time to evaluate and reflect on and learn from. It's necessary that as we go about our day-to-day activities, that we find time and find a place to just pause, think, and reflect and play around ideas. The truth is that there is nothing that you cannot do as an individual or achieve as an individual if you just take your time to take a stand, grow, and run towards the best version of you. The only person that can stop you is yourself. So it's necessary that every time you take out time to ask questions, to think, to reflect, to pause, It's very important. I cannot overemphasize the importance of asking good questions. When it comes to personal growth, if your questions are focused, they will stimulate creative thinking. Why? Because there is something about a well worded question that often penetrates to the heart of the matter and triggers new ideas and insights. If your questions are honest, they will lead to solid convictions. If you ask quality questions, they will help you to create a high quality life. Sir Francis Bacon, English philosopher, statesman, scientist, lawyer, jurist, author, and pioneer of the scientific method, asserted if a person will begin with certainties, it will end in doubt. But if he will be content to begin with doubt, it will end in certainties. There are certain personal awareness questions you could ask yourself. Teaching other people how to ask questions effectively can be a difficult challenge because the questions they ask usually must be tailored to the situation. So perhaps the best way to give you insight on this issue is to share with you a series of questions I've asked and answered to help me develop personal awareness. The first question I always ask myself is, what is my biggest asset? I believe that my greatest asset has always been my attitude. I first learned the value of a positive attitude from my father, Melvin Maxwell. Overcame his naturally. He was once a pessimistic person, but by reading books written by Norman Vincent Peale, it changed his orientation. My wife, Margaret, also has an uncommonly good attitude. Over the years, we have occasionally wondered why others seem to have so many more problems than we do. We finally come to the conclusion that we don't have fewer problems. We just don't allow the problems we have to get us down or distract us from what we believe is important. What has answering this question done for me? It has only encouraged me to continue to cultivate a positive attitude, but has also reminded me that one of the best things I can do for others is speak positively into their lives. Let them know I believe in them and encourage them in their journey. What is my biggest liability? Without a doubt, having unrealistic expectations is a major shortcoming in my life because I'm naturally optimistic and I underestimate how much time, money, and effort most on endeavors will require, and that can get me into trouble. What has answering this question done to help me grow? It has tempered my expectation towards others. Modifying my expectations to be more realistic has helped me to set up my team to succeed rather than to fail. It has also helped me to create more realistic goals for team members and the organizations they serve. What is my highest high? Without a doubt, my family is the source of the highest highs in my life. Margaret is my best friend. I cannot imagine life without her, and we're enjoying our favorite season of life now as grandparents. Another question is, what is my lowest low? Ironically, my lowest low have also come as the result of family. Why? Because I love my family members so much. Yet, I have to let them make their own choices. That can be tough for someone with my personality. Years ago, when my children were still teenagers, I was having a conversation with Ron Blue and Hal Hendricks, and I asked them, when is this parenting thing over? They told me it never ends. They were right. How has it helped me to grow? Knowing that the best and worst of life is related to family. It has helped me to enjoy the times I have with my family and to stay out of my grown children's decision making unless they ask for my advice. What is my most worthwhile emotion? I don't think there is a more worthwhile emotion than love. We live at our best when we love what we do, love our friends and family, even love our enemies. As a person of faith, I know this is the standard that God has set for me. It is also the desire of my heart. How does knowing this help me to grow? Love is a choice, and it often requires effort. So, to love others as I would like to do, I must be intentional about it and choose to love people every day. What is my least worthwhile emotion? The least attractive emotion, not only for me, but for any person, is self pity. It is destructive and self serving. In Earth and Altar, in Earth and Altar, Eugene H. Peterson says, pity is one of the noblest emotions available to human beings. Self pity is possibly the most ignoble. Pity is the capacity to enter into the pain of another in order to do something about it. Self pity is an incapacity, a crippling emotional disease that severely distorts our perception of reality. Pity discovers the need in others for love and healing, and then fashions speech and actions that bring them strength. Self pity reduces the universe to a personal wound that is displayed as proof of significance. Pity is adrenaline for acts of mercy. Self pity is a narcotic that leaves its addicts wasted and derelict. Knowing the negative effects of self pity reminds me to avoid it categorically. It cannot help me, and it always will harm me. What is my best habit? H.P. Ladden, Chancellor of St. Paul's in London in the 1800s, observed, what we do on some great occasions will depend on what we are, and what we are will be the result of previous years of self discipline. I believe that 100%. That is one of the reasons I work hard to follow through on daily disciplines. I believe a person's secret of success is found in his daily agenda. What we do on some great occasion will depend on what we are, and what we are will be the result of previous years of self discipline. Perhaps the greatest value of questioning myself in this area is that it exposes my weaknesses regarding the discipline for my health. Developing a good eating habit has been a lifelong struggle, and I did not exercise regularly until after I suffered my heart attack. I continue to work hard to try to grow in this area. What is my worst habit? Without a doubt, my personal worst trait is impatience. It was part of my early nature as a child, and it has become ingrained in me as a habit. When I was a child, we used to visit my grandpa, Maxwell, and it never failed that at some point while we were there, he would sit my brother, Larry, and me down in two chairs and offer to pay us a nickel if we would sit quietly in those chairs for 5 minutes. Larry always earned his nickel, and I never did. Not one time. There are things in life that you have to work for, and there are other things that you have to wait for. I've learned that there are things in life that you must consistently work for, but when you have to wait, you must learn to wait. I'm still trying to grow when it comes to waiting. I suspect that this will be a goal of mine. until the day I die. What's the most fulfilling to me? The thing I enjoy doing most is communicating to other people. When I communicate, I know I am in my strength zone. I feel the most fulfilled and I make the greatest impact. Every time I do it, I have a sense deep down that says, I was made for this. Early in my career, knowing that communication was fulfilling to me prompted me to do better in speaking because back then I wasn't very good at it. But for more than 10 years, it was one of the top areas I dedicated myself to. When it came to growth, I continued to try to grow as a communicator, but the value I received from asking this question today is that it helped me to stay focused. So I'm doing what returns the most value to others and to myself. What do I prize most highly? I value nothing as highly as I do my faith. It forms my values. It guides my actions. It has been my foundation on my teaching on leadership. It's my source and my security. Mother Teresa said, faith keeps the person who keeps the faith. I found that to be true. Faith is trusting in advance what will only make sense in reverse. Philippians. The previous 10 questions were the ones I actually asked myself to prompt me to reflect and help me grow in the area of self-awareness. You can ask yourself questions in just about any area of life to help you pause, focus, and learn. For example, if you wanted to grow in the area of relationships, you could ask yourself the following questions. Do I value people? Do people know I value them? How do I show it? Am I a plus or minus in my most important relationships? What evidence do I have to confirm my opinion? What is the love language of the people I love? How can I serve them? Do I need to forgive someone in my life who needs to be given grace? Who in my life should I take time to thank? Who in my life should be receiving more of my time? Or if you wanted to pause and think about where you are in the area of personal growth, you could ask yourself the following. Do I know and practice the laws of personal growth? Which three laws do I know best and do I do best? Which three am I weakest? Am I growing daily? What am I doing daily to grow? How am I growing? What are the roadblocks that are keeping me from growing? What are the breakthroughs I need to keep growing? What are the potential learning moments I experienced today? And did I seize them? Am I passing on to someone what I'm learning? What you want to accomplish in life and where you are in the journey will determine what areas you most need to think about today. Tailoring the questions to yourself. But the most important thing you must do is write out the questions and write out the answers. Why? Because you will discover that what you think after you write the answer is different from what you thought before you wrote it. Writing helps you to discover what you truly know, think, and believe. Writing helps you to discover what you truly know, think, and believe. Is this really worth the trouble? I guess all of these sounds like a lot of steps and a lot of trouble, right? Well, maybe you're right. That's why most people never do it. but it is worth every bit of your effort. It's worth every bit of effort you put into it. The farther you go in life, the more critical it is that you take time to pause and think. The older you are, the less time you have to stay on purpose and do the things you were created to do. But here's the good news. If you've been diligent in your efforts to grow along the way, you will also be better equipped to fulfill that purpose, even if it requires you to make significant changes or course corrections. Many years ago, my friend Bob Bufford wrote a book called The Second Half. It's fantastic. The entire book is a pause so that growth can catch up with you experience. In it, he encourages the readers who have experienced some success in the first half of their lives to stop and think about what they want to do in the second half. Here is some of the advice he gives. You will not go very far in your second half without knowing your life mission. Can yours be stated in a sentence or two? A good way to begin formulating one is with some questions and nakedly honest answers. What is your passion? What have you achieved? What have you done uncommonly well? How are you wired? Where do you belong? What are the shoes that have trailed you during the first half? These and other questions like them will direct you towards the self your heart longs for. They will help you discover the tasks for which you were especially made. Never forget that your goal in personal growth is reaching your potential. To do that, you need to keep pausing, keep asking questions, and keep growing every day. Now, there are certain things you should apply in the law of reflection. Have you created a place where you can consistently and effectively pause and reflect? If not, do so immediately. First, figure out what kind of environment will be good for you. Among the places I've chosen over the years, I rock outdoors, a small isolated room where no one would bother me, and a special chair in my office. I figure out it works for me. Figure out what works for you. Also, schedule a time to pause and reflect. If you don't, it will always get shuffled off. It perhaps would never be in your to do list. Ideally, you would spend a short time pausing to reflect at the end of every day between 10 and 30 minutes. A significant time every week, at least an hour or two, part of a day, several times a year, half a day, and an extended time annually. As little as a day and as much as a week. Put these times to pause on your calendar and guard them as you would your most important appointments. Cartoonist Henry Arnold said, "The wise man questions himself, the fool others." The law of reflection will do you little good unless you're intentional in your thinking time. You make yourself intentional by asking yourself tough questions. Where do you most need to grow right now? Is it in self management? Is there an issue that can't seem to wrestle down? Are you experiencing a plateau in your career? Are you failing to win at the most important relationships in your life? Do you need to examine or re examine your purpose? Do you need to assess what you should be doing in your second half? Whatever your issue is, Create questions around it and spend time writing your answer to those questions during your scheduled times of reflection. Wow, we've come to the end of the book reading session. Shout out to you, Pilar and Vivian. Thanks for joining in. I would like to hear if you have any insights to share, questions to ask. I'm sending you an invite right now to come up on stage. But if you would like to pause, just in case you're in a place where you cannot talk, that's fine. However, it's been a lot. Personally, I've had a lot from this book as well. Hi, Pilar. Shout out to you. It's good to have you here. Welcome aboard.
Hi, Victoria. Afternoon,
Hi.
one to you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. And you? How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Oh, great. You like to share something with us based on what you.
No, basically, I'll pass because I came in late. I wish I had, was early. But I enjoyed what I listened to. So, I hope to be a part of this also.
All right, great. I could ask you a question. Do you, based on what we've gotten from the book, do you take time to reflect on things? And if you do, how has that helped you in any way as a person?
Do I take time to reflect
To
on things?
reflect on things like your experiences, take time to reflect on them and perhaps learn from them. If you do, how has that helped you in any way? If not, you can as well share.
Absolutely, I do. But the first thing I've noticed is it's not also good to take so much time to reflect on a whole lot of things, especially the negative things, in the sense that uh, it's good to just get the lessons and just move on than having to spend so much time on the negative because you end up, maybe these were things that cause you depression, these were things that got to you, these were things that made you sad, these were things that made you unhappy. These were things that make you feel like life has finished. So for every single time you want to go back to think about them, to reminisce about them, you're definitely not going to feel alive. This has been my experience. So what I do is if I'm thinking about those particular subjects, those particular situations, events, I basically look at the lessons that I was supposed to learn and look at how have I learned these lessons? Have I really made progress? And am I still making the same mistakes? But aside that, thinking about the positive things, there's something I've noticed and I think it's really work. I look at an event and I try to propose, I try to imagine, I try to desire, and I also try to command positivity out of this event in the sense that, okay, for instance, if I'm thinking about how I had an interview and I wasn't called upon at the end of the session, I had a message. Unfortunately, we had to take other uh, applicants who were better than you, who their CV aligned best for the position and all of that. So what I do is I sit down and I imagine the kind of jobs, the kind of position, the kind of things, the kind of employment opportunity I should send my CV across so as not to always come back with the negative response. And so while doing this, I've noticed that the universe just has a way of sending what you need to you. It might not really change over time, but ultimately, if you continue and just press forward, your your thoughts, Your reminiscing about these things will always come out to be positive. I don't know if I'm out of context, but this is what I would say about uh, looking at the past and having to make a better decision in the future. Yeah, that's it. And finally, if it's something that I don't want to deal with and experience, just like I said before, if it's something that doesn't align with my values and my destination, I try as much as possible to shove it up. I do not even want to, I do not even want to entertain it in my mind, and I don't want to entertain it in my thoughts. So that's it.
Oh wow, great. Very important share there, Pilar. Thank you so much. It's very important that as we take our time to reflect on things that we're not reflecting on negative things, just like Pilar just shared, it's very important. And if you had joined in earlier, one of the things that Johnson Maxwell kept sharing ideas on the things you should reflect on, and one of the things he said is he always asks himself questions like, what is my biggest asset? What is my greatest liability? Things like that. What are my worst moments, best moments? What did I learn from this time that wasn't really cool? What did I learn from this time that came out really great? It's just a moment to just pause, think, reflect, so that you do not repeat mistakes, or you do not get involved with things that you perhaps would not want to get involved with next time. That moment for you to understand, okay, what do I need to work on as a person? Where do I need to grow? And one of the things said, in what area of your life do you think you need to grow and improve on? Is it in self management? Is it in other things, perhaps your communication with people? Whatever it is just very important that you take time to pause, think, and reflect. And yeah, Pilar is saying, don't reflect so much on negative things. Thank you so much for that. Very, very important. I've seen people get into trouble, into depression, into suicidal thoughts just by reflecting on negative things. But there's so much we can do together, and there's so much we can do with our year as we continue to grow. Believe in yourself, believe the best in yourself. And today we're looking at changing your paradigm, not being that person that is all over the place, having activities upon activities, or just taking your time to reflect. You could practice that within 10 minutes to 30 minutes daily, perhaps in the course of the week. You could practice an hour or two of reflection, and in a month, you could practice 1 day of reflection. You want to say something, Pilar?
No, no, no.
Okay,
Oh, sorry.
great.
I didn't even know I didn't meet. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. You could practice a whole lot, and what it will do for you, please, positive reflection, definitely. What it will do for you is help you see. Remember, I gave you three eyes of also reflecting, investigation, asking questions. You're not just thinking and thinking and thinking all by yourself. No, you're investigating. You're trying to ask questions, especially if you want to know some things around a particular area of life, or you want to get more exposed in any area, or you want to grow in certain areas. You want to ask questions, you want to investigate, you want to get illumination, light in that area, so that you're not ignorant about it anymore. You want to be very intentional about that. You want to be able to get illustrations, examples, what examples are already related to this, what can I learn from other people's experiences, or perhaps examples in relation to this particular thing. See people's mistakes, learn from them, and know that, okay, I will not do it this way. And that is just how it is, basically. So there are diverse things you need to do with your reflection moment. But one of the things you must do is ask yourself tough questions, questions that will push you, questions that will make you really sit down and think. One of the things Anthony Robbins said is successful people ask better questions, and as a result, they get better answers. So it's necessary that you're not using your reflection moments to just think and think and think, but you're asking the right questions. You're also pushing yourself. Now, how well you make use of your reflection moment would leave you applauding you or prodding you. So it should be a moment to either applaud yourself or push you to do more. Push you to do more. But it should not be a moment to leave that sport and feeling like, oh my, I just had the worst moment ever. No, it should be a moment where you learn, relearn, unlearn, and grow. And so, yes, this is something we've had to learn today on changing your paradigm. Thank you so much for staying through, Vivian. I truly appreciate you. Shout out to you. Thank you for joining in, Pilar, and for also sharing your insight. Thanks for your submission. I truly appreciate you. Right about now, would like to say goodbye. Thank you so much. And yes, thank you, thank you. If you are not on our premium book club yet, do well to join in. I would share the link with you later on, Pilar. I could have put it up here, but then I just would pass and perhaps to share it with you personally. But then the truth is, it's always amazing that we just keep growing, keep learning, keep reading. Being exposed to books has a whole lot. It does a lot to your mind. It helps you, it improves you, enhances you, your thinking pattern as well. And so it's necessary that we just, get involved in reading a whole lot in year 2022 and beyond. All right, here's me saying thank you so much for joining VA Iron Man, your one and only Victoria Orwell. So we'll come your way again next time, same time, Wednesday. Yes, we will be meeting 5:30 to 6:30. 5:30 between to 6 is when we just, get to start the room and just get ready to be part of it. And I love you with all of my heart. And just in case you do not know what this room is really about, we basically do everything books, from book reading to book reviews to book writing, book editing, book publishing, book promotions, name it. We do basically everything books, and we'll be happy to serve you whenever and wherever. You could just send a DM via the back channel, and I'm just going to be here for you. I love you with all of my heart. And do well to stay well. Keep safe. And this room will end in exactly 2 seconds. Bye for now. Bye, Pilar. Bien.